hope everyone's doing well. I just wanted to make a video for you on the next mini lesson, which is using the zero product property to solve. So the zero product property basically says that whenever you have a bunch of things multiplied together that equal zero, you can just set each piece equal to zero. So for these first few problems, we'll solve by simply setting each part equal to zero. Just want to make the pen a little smaller. Okay, so your first one will just be x equals 0. That's one of your answers right away. Then you have x minus 4 equals 0, which would give you x equals 4 when you add 4 to both sides. And your last one would be 3x plus 2 equals 0, which would give you 3x equals negative 2. And then divide both sides by 3, so you have x equals negative 2/3. When you're doing IXL, to put a fraction in there, you use this key. So you would put negative 2, this button, over 3. Okay, our next one we have 3x equals 0, which when you divide by 3, 0 divided by anything is just 0. So x equals 0 again. 2x plus 1 equals 0, which subtract 1 first, so 2x equals negative 1, and then divide by 2, so x equals negative 1/2. And then the last one, x plus 3 equals 0, would give you x equals negative 3. Now, sometimes you have to factor before using the zero product property. So back to our factoring, we'll set up our parentheses. And our first spots need to multiply to x squared, so it's x and x. Last need to multiply to negative 12, but when we do inner and outer, they need to add to negative 1. So you could do 1 and 12, but that would give you 11 if you subtract them. So we have negative at the end. You could do 6 and 2, which would give you 4 if you subtract them, so that won't work. Or you could do 4 and 3, which would give you 1 if you subtract them. So we're going to put a 4 there, a 3 there. Negative 4 plus 3 would give us negative 1 in the middle. And then we just set each part equal to 0. So if x minus 4 equals 0, then x equals 4. One answer. And if x plus 3 equals 0, then x equals negative 3, your other answer. Okay, and also sometimes you have to factor out a GCF. So this is the last type that we'll review together. So looking at the first one, we notice that the coefficients all have a GCF of 2. So let's pull out a 2. And then we also notice every term has an x, so we can also pull out an x. So 2x, and then write what's left over. 2 divided by 2 is 1. X cubed divided by x would be x squared. Plus 2 divided by 2 is 1. X squared divided by x would be x. And negative 40 divided by 2 would be negative 20. And x divided by x is 1, so we don't have to write anything. And then we have to factor that again. So keep the 2x on the outside. And we'll have, when we factor this one, it should be x and x. And then multiply to negative 20, add to 1 would have to be 4 and 5. And I'm going through this part a little bit fast because I know you've done this already and you're proficient with it, with factoring, and then equals 0. Also, a little key is that the highest exponent in your problem tells you how many answers you have. So this is telling you should have 3 answers for this problem. So first answer, 2x equals 0, is going to give us x equals 0. Second answer, if x plus 4 equals 0, x equals negative 4. And third answer, if x minus 5 equals 0, x equals 5. So there's our 3 answers. And then the second one, again, we have a GCF. Looks like they're all divisible by 4. But we cannot pull out an x every time because see this last term here, it doesn't have an x. So we're just going to take a 4 out of everything. So 4 over 4 is 1. We're left with x squared. Positive 8 over 4 is positive 2. We still have an x with that one. And then 4 over 4 is 1. And then we can factor this. So we still have 4 on the outside, GCF. We know we have x in the first spot. Then we need to multiply to 1 and add to 2. So it has to be 1 and 1. So this first part, if you were to set 4 equal to 0, that's not true. There's like no solution there. It's not a solution. So that doesn't give us an answer. Even looking here, we should only have 2 answers because the highest exponent is 2. So you have x plus 1 equals 0, which will give you x equals negative 1. And then when you do the second one, in this case, you also get x equals negative 1. So for our answer for a problem, we only have to write it once. But what this means, and you'll learn further in Algebra 2, that x equals 1 with a multiplicity of 2, which you'll need that when you're graphing polynomials in Algebra 2, but for right now, you don't need to worry about that. You just need to know that x equals negative 1 happens twice. So there are 2 answers. It's negative 1 twice, but you only have to write your final answer once. So if you have any questions or anything, just feel free to reach out through email, or we can always schedule a Zoom together, and have a wonderful day.